So this is a Hasselblad medium format camera, 6x6. It's an older analog one with a planar lens, but it's really nice because it shows you very clearly how shutter speed and aperture compensate for each other with exposure, and also has a great depth of field scale. So if you look at the outer ring, that's got the shutter speeds. So you have B 1 second, half a second, a quarter, eighth, etc. to 500th of a second. And on this particular, if you ignore the red stuff there, it's linked to the aperture, which is the inside one. So the widest this lens goes to is f2.8. The smallest aperture is f22. So it's got this little thing here that compensates for. So now when they link together, if you've chosen a 30th of a second f11 as your aperture, whichever way you turn it, it gives the same exposure. So f11 1/30th of a second is the same as f8 a 60th of a second, because a 30th of a second is double the time of a 60th of a second, and f11 is half the size, the diameter, of f8. So you can see one compensates for the other. So once you've chosen your correct exposure, you can just toggle. If you listen carefully, you can hear the full stop clicks between the stops. So that's a full stop in the traditional way that you don't really find at all on any electronic camera, digital camera, which is a bit of a pity because it's kind of nice to be able to do it. This here is the focus ring. As you can see, there's infinity, and we go all the way to the closest focal point, which is 3 feet. What's really nice is that, let's say we set it at 15 feet, we know that f11, our reasonable depth of field, is going to be from 10 feet to 35 feet. And if I change that to f4, it's the same exposure, because it's gone up to 1/250th of a second on f4. Still at 15 feet, my focus point, I have a lot less depth of field. So watch what I change. So that's the wide open aperture. It's got the least depth of field. It's just a little bit on either side of perfect focus at 15 feet. You see that on f2.8, it's a very narrow depth of field, and as I go through the f-stops, I start getting more and more focus. And at f22, even though I'm exactly focused on 15 feet, I have good depth of field from infinity through to 8 feet. And one thing you'll notice, let's go back to, let's say, 5.6, or let's do f8. If we go to the closest possible focus, which is 3 feet, oh, let's go actually 4 feet, you'll notice that because it's much closer, your depth of field extends to a very small degree on either side of the perfect focus point. Even on f22, it's only from 5 feet to 3.4 feet, I guess. So that shows you that the closer you focus, or the closer you are to your subject matter, the less your depth of field is.